Okay, today we are talking about the genius of Miss Jo Baker. This series is going to be a deep dive into a particular makeup artist. We're going to go over a little bit about like their background, their style. We're going to do like a real deep dive, okay? And there will be a tutorial in here, so you can't get mad at me, okay? You're not allowed to get mad at me. If you are not familiar with Jo Baker, you absolutely are. If you've been scrolling on Pinterest or like, I don't know, any explore page anywhere, you have seen her work on Lucy Boynton. I promise you that. That's actually how I discovered the two of them, and we will come back to that, pinky swear. So, little background on Miss Jo Baker, this like fabulous fairy of a makeup artist. She was born and raised in London. Like so many incredible makeup artists, she was artistically inclined, drawing, painting, experimenting with makeup, glitter, glue, in art class and such. She worked part-time at MAC, like so many makeup artists do, myself included. Just a little pivot. I technically worked at MAC, but I never actually worked at MAC. But I technically had a job there, but I never actually worked there. So I'm in the club, kind of. When she was 19, she started working backstage at London and Paris Fashion Weeks, which is a pretty incredible. First of all, I can't imagine being 19 and working backstage at any fashion week. So I can't imagine the amount of inspiration and experience that she must have gathered from just doing those shows. This is a really fun fact, actually. Eventually, a photographer friend of hers introduced her to Usher, and he loved her work, and he ended up sponsoring her visa to move to Los Angeles, which obviously like expanded her celebrity clientele by a lot. So thanks, Usher, for that. Obviously, since then, she's worked with so many like A-list celebrity clients, doing editorial shoots, working with major brands, etc. In 2016, she actually became the artist in residence for Rimmel London, so that's pretty huge. More recently, I think in 2022, she launched her own brand called Bake Up Beauty. Kind of love the name. I had never heard of it, which is crazy, so I looked into it a little bit. It looks like they've gone through some changes. One article from Glossy talked about the brand launching NFTs, and I was like, what? So I went on the website and I checked it out, and there's no mention of that anywhere. They have like a pretty rudimentary lineup of products. It looks like a lot of like colorful palettes, neutral palettes, a lot of like eye products, mascara, eyeliner, stuff like that. There is a video, like an update video, a very, very like unproduced update video from Jo herself. Looks like she just kind of like set up a phone and is talking to the camera, saying that after all of these years, she finally has creative control and to expect like a big change coming to the brand. So I don't know. This video isn't about her brand, so I'm not going to get into that very much. But if you're interested, I can keep an eye out. I'm probably going to keep an eye out anyway, since I didn't know that it existed. So we'll see what develops there, I guess. So her foundation, her style is very much artwork, okay? She treats faces like a canvas. And she often finds inspiration in like very mundane objects, like literally anything. Just like look around and she's finding inspo there, okay? She can see it and she sees a makeup look and she creates the makeup look. It's pretty incredible. Her makeup looks are often incredibly like bold but balanced. She has mentioned that her goal is not to just emphasize like people looking beautiful or sexy. It's to look cool or interesting above all else. And she absolutely achieves that. In her own words, she said, "I want my girls to look cool more than I want them to look gorgeous." Something that's really cool that she does is, first of all, she's not afraid of strong colors or like bold shapes. Her looks often reflect editorial like style, but on red carpets, which is one of my favorite things about her work with Lucy Boynton, which again, we'll get into. I'm so excited about it. She equates being from London with the development of her aesthetic. It's very like edgy, very worldly, in her own words, during her Rimmel, what do you call that? Her Rimmel residency, maybe? Is she a doctor? Dr. Jo Baker. She said that London has always been the most inspirational city. It's got such an eclectic, distinctive vibe. In an interview with Portuguese Vogue, she talked about understanding the balance of a face, knowing exactly what to highlight and play down so that things create that balance. not letting the makeup outshine the person or the outfit. It all just kind of like works as one. Personally, if I had to choose one word to describe Jo Baker's style, it would be playful. So let's talk a little bit about her process. She often starts by assessing a person's facial features. Makes sense? Makeup artist, face, you know what I mean? She also loves to take into account coloring, obviously, and a person's personality, which I really, really love. She has this way of using mood boards, which again, we'll get into later, it's so much fun to create like the inspiration for the look. And she often asks her clients like, how far do you want to go creatively? And you can really tell, who wants to go creative and who's a little bit like, I want to stay a little bit more natural. And like any incredible makeup artist, she can do it all. One of the ways that she creates balance, especially when she is doing something that's going to be a little bit more editorial looking, maybe she's working with heavier, more graphic shapes on the eyes, is she might just skip foundation altogether and just do like little spot concealing here or there. She knows how to play down certain aspects of the makeup. For instance, if you are doing like a super heavy graphic eye, but you have this like thick matte foundation, not that any makeup artist is going to be like, super thick matte foundation. But if you're going like full glam everywhere plus that like heavy graphic shape, it can really just like overwhelm the face. And Jo knows exactly like what to play down, what to play up so that things are not overwhelmed on the face. She firmly believes that the makeup should complement the person, the outfit, and not compete with it. So for example, she might omit a gloss or a highlight or something if she is working with a more like a graphic eye look, because she doesn't want to pull too much attention. She doesn't want all of those elements to be competing with each other, which is actually a little bit of the inspiration for my makeup today. We'll talk about this a little bit later. But I'm not wearing any highlighter because I felt like I had like a nice satin matte base and I have this beautiful shimmer on the lids, and I really wanted that to kind of like pull focus. I also have like a slightly more undone lip and eye. I'm not really wearing a ton on the eyes. It's like relatively undone. So I didn't want to put like a ton of highlighter all over, the face, the high points of the face, to really like make it look too finished, because the point of it is kind of to look a little bit undone. She has this incredible way of fitting her artwork to the face as if one informs the other and vice versa. It's pretty incredible. Now I really want to get into some examples so that like we can really dive into this, starting with Lucy Boynton because they're my favorite. So the first one that I want to talk about is this beautiful look that appears to be, it's like painted like cat eye messy shape with these like spiky lashes. It looks to me like the makeup is inspired by, I don't know if I'm saying this right, but Pete Mondrian. Terrible pronunciation, sorry. Pete Mondrian and Jackson Pollock. It's like if you took those two artists and shoved them together. That's the beautiful look that she created on these eyes of Lucy Boynton. One of the things that like we can instantly sort of see is that obviously like the eyes are a statement, okay? And they're like messy and they're graphic and they're bold and they like pull all the focus. The brows are slightly like undone a little bit. The skin is incredibly natural. It hardly looks like she's wearing any makeup at all. And the lips are very undone. It doesn't look like there's hardly anything on them. A very natural wash of color. The lightest amount of blush dusted across the cheeks and over the nose. But other than that, there's nothing competing with those eyes. Next, I love this look where she's wearing these black rhinestones. Again, she has it's slightly more glam. Her skin looks a little more flawless. It looks a little bit more like highlighted with a very subtle blush, like the tiniest bit of blush, with this beautiful like matte red lip. And it's kind of like a take on like a very simple glam, but just adding those little elements. First of all, Lucy has the most incredible eyelashes, which is like so incredibly rude. They already like, you can picture this look without, and it's gorgeous, but adding just those little dots of these black rhinestones just creates this like incredibly like modern vibe to the whole thing. And it works so beautifully with her like soft waves, that super light blonde hair. And I can't see the entire outfit, but it looks like a relatively modern, I don't know how you would describe that because I'm not a fashion person, but like suit wear. I don't know. She's wearing a Chanel pin. I don't know. But the whole, like, from what I can see from this image, it's absolutely stunning. In this video, we see this like incredible combination again on Lucy of these like unexpected colors, like completely unexpected colors in my opinion. I would typically not think to blend these like incredibly cool toned grays with these like neon pinks and oranges that just like pop so much against the skin. And then she puts this like very, very subtle shimmer over that like matte gray on the lid. It's so beautiful. Like it's something that I never would have thought of. And that's why it's like there's something ethereal and kind of like I have this curiosity about it because I'm like, I would just never think to do that. And that's one of the best things, and that's why I think Jo Baker is so one of the greatest ways to describe her work is playful, is because there's this curiosity behind it, and it's like she can create beauty out of things that are just like so unexpected. Next up, this is a great example of something a little bit more like tame. Obviously, you can see Lucy here has a very 60s vibe going on, okay? With the hair, she almost looks like Sienna Miller playing Edie Sedgwick. Again, those gorgeous lashes. She has these beautiful like light wash of sort of pastel colors, the blue and then the pink that really helps tie her lips and the cheeks together. And then she has these really cool like edgy earrings with this like gold, what looks like an eye. It looks like a sculpture of an eye with these like dangly flowers, and then obviously like the stud part is this skull. It's so sick. Like I just love the combination of all of those. And it looks like in the earring you have this sort of like pale blue that is obviously like reflected on the wash above her lid and also her eye color, which is just absolutely gorgeous. You have all of these really beautiful elements of like pretty and elegant and edgy, and I think that's what creates so much intrigue to this look. Girl, hot pink flames. I mean, are you kidding me? Like, come on. Look at her little smile. She's so cute. Again, graphic. We're working with a graphic eye, so we have this soft matte pink lip. Very, very subtle. It's not competing with that pink. And then you also have the contrast of that against her like spiky, like edgy lashes. There's always something kind of pretty, something kind of edgy, something a little bit elegant. It looks like can't see her entire outfit, but it looks very elegant. She has this soft hair. And I also love how incredibly vertical the wings are. They look like these pink flames that are just like stuck up almost, which is creating like this really beautiful sort of like contrast to her big doe eyes. This is one of my absolute favorites. It's so incredibly elegant. It's like what I'm refer to as this like elegant, unexpected wing, because it's sort of reversed. You have the blunt end, the like flat blunt end on the outer area, and it kind of goes over the eye and thins as you get to the inner corner. So it's like a reverse wing almost. It's very cool. And then obviously the her lashes look like they're tight lined maybe. And then she has these beautiful tiny little rhinestones that just help to kind of like contrast that matte, thick, dark wing or line on her just above her crease. So you get that nice like combination of like a matte graphic shape with something a little bit more like reflective that's going to catch the light and sort of balance that out. Finally, for Lucy, I love these glitter eyes. Like they're just so cute. These glitter cheeks are just so cute. And this is again just like an example of looks like she's wearing something a little bit more casual. She's wearing denim. Her hair is up. She's obviously got her signature gorgeous eyelashes and like this very simple makeup look, but there's just glitter all over her cheeks. Like it's just, I love it. It's like a little kid playing with glitter for the first time. I was also introduced to Grace Gostad. I'm not sure if I'm saying her name correctly, but this look to me looks very much like a neon sign. It just like absolutely glows on her eyes. And again, you can see that like when she's working with these like extremely graphic eye looks that are like really meant to pull the focus. And you can also see that Grace is wearing like a pretty colorful outfit. Very minimal. She's also very young, so she can get away with it. She looks like she has stunning skin, but it looks like she's hardly wearing anything on the face. Like you can really see those freckles coming through. Her lips look incredibly natural. Maybe there's like a teeny wash of color on them, but nothing here is competing with that eye look. Now, she doesn't just do these crazy artistic looks. And that is one of the things about like some of the best makeup artists is that they can do it all. So she also has an incredible way of creating like a natural glam. So for instance, this natural glam look on Mia Goth is so soft and beautiful. And it really like speaks to Mia as a person. You know, Mia has been in a lot of like those creepy horror-esque movies. So we have this really beautiful kind of like cool toned, almost like it's like a soft goth look, Mia Goth, on the lids. And it's very, very like matte while the skin still has some of that like natural sort of like glow to it. And then obviously this like beautiful juicy lip. So all of those elements are working together again. There's like a really nice balance there. You know, when she has this matte eye look, she doesn't have this overly matte lip. The skin is still looking fresh. And it's incredibly beautiful on her. All of the tones are really stunning. Another natural glam in this video on Olivia Wilde. Really beautiful. Like this toasted, like all just these toasted tones. It almost looks like a slightly more neutral like shimmer on the lids. But overall, she's incredibly golden and bronzy, and that really makes her blue eyes pop. I will say, Jo, she knows how to work with blue eyes, okay? Like, oh my God, does she know how to make blue eyes pop? And this look is incredibly beautiful, but you can see much more natural, much more glam, much more natural. We don't have any like crazy artistic things happening, but she knows how to create a look that's going to work beautifully on Olivia, on her skin tone, with her eyes, and with that outfit. This is a perfect example for all of my hooded eye people out there. The simple glam look on Sandra Hüller. I hope I'm saying that properly. She has very hooded eyes. And this is such a perfect example of creating something edgy and playful on someone who doesn't have a lot of room to work with. So this works so beautifully. Again, those gorgeous blue eyes that contrast so nicely against that like really sharp black wing. And you can see not only is that wing like going straight up, which whenever I talk about hooded eyes, I'm always like, you guys, you see that line that comes down from her, from this part of the eye being kind of like pushed down? Ignore that. Like put the wing wherever you want it. You do not have to have it like right where everybody else does. You have to work with your eye shape. And she absolutely did that here with this like intense check mark, like thick wing. Plus, she's emphasizing that using these really like black spiky lashes just on like the very outer corner to kind of like help sort of blend that wing into the eye and give like a little bit of a lift to, or the lash line. It's so beautiful, and it's such a beautiful example again of something a little bit more natural glam, but she's bringing that edgy aspect to it. Because if we look at the rest of the face, beautiful natural skin, light flush on the cheeks and the lips. We have that gloss. Everything is very simple, not overly done, but then we have that edgy element, and everything is working really beautifully together. Okay, now we are getting into the inspo grids, which I'm very excited to talk about. This is a beautiful look on Lucy, obviously much more natural than what we're used to seeing on Lucy. She has these really gorgeous, like cool toned colors. Obviously, you can see that Jo has posted this with a photo of a cemetery and what looks like a dying flower. Amazing, okay? Which obviously you can see where the inspiration comes from. That color on the lips is absolutely that like soft sort of like plum color from the dying flower. We have the gold in the center of the flower, which is reflected on her jewelry, her earrings and her rings, which are also look like they're flowers. And then obviously we have these sort of like muted grayish tones on the eyes. Really gorgeous. So we're getting into the inspo grids, which I'm so excited to talk about. But again, she does do natural looks on Lucy sometimes. But you can tell that Lucy is one of the clients who's like, do whatever you want. And they are such a partnership, like made in heaven. All right, so let's get into some more inspo grids. So Jo is famous for posting these inspiration grids on her Instagram. She'll post a photo of the makeup and then usually 2 images that she sort of like looked at and combined to create the inspiration for the makeup look. And it's really, really fun. I highly recommend going and following her on Instagram. It's so fun to see like what she's chosen because they get unhinged and it's the best. And I can't wait till we get there. So the first one that I want to look at is this inspo grid on Lucy Boynton of these like, what do you call those? Oh my God, like neon, dude, what are those things called? That you like, it's like a stick and then a glow stick. They're like glow sticks. And you can see obviously like the inspiration photo is like a glow stick earring, glow stick around the neck. So it's obviously these beautiful neon colors, and she used that as inspiration for that shape around the eyes and the neon glow of that like liner around Lucy's eyes. So gorgeous. I absolutely love it. And it's relatively like soft and simple, you know, for Jo. So it works really beautifully with everything else that's going on her face. Okay, and then keeping in the color vein, we have these 2 images of rainbow ice cream that Jo posted that is obviously reflected in the eye look that Lucy is wearing, these really beautiful, like soft blended neon colors around her eyes. But I also really love this because her hair, like the light color of her hair and also that like dress or jacket, whatever she might be wearing, really reminds me of vanilla ice cream. So I just love that like this whole thing all together, just like you can see where it's coming from. Like you can see where everything is coming from. And I love seeing how she might be like looking at Lucy, the outfit, and deciding like, oh, this is the inspiration. Or maybe she like saves these photos for later and then she's like pulling from, I don't know, a folder of inspiration photos when she sees, you know, the outfit and the person. I don't know. I would love to know more about that process. Okay, this is where they get a little bit fun. So this is an inspiration grid for Erin Doherty, and you can see lit matches. So dope. And you can totally see, like, you can see it, and I love it so much. And I love this look on Erin, especially because she has this really like slicked hair, and it's all very like polished. It looks like she's wearing some kind of leather coat or something, and like maybe a white button down. So all very like clean and crisp. These chrome silver earrings, and then her makeup, like the eye look is very undone, very like, very edgy, very smoked out, and you can absolutely see the inspiration coming from those lip matches. Next example, this is pretty self-explanatory. This is Maud Apatow, and she used red paint swatches as her inspiration, which I love. I think it's really beautiful. Also just like fun use of like working with primary colors if you're thinking of the skin tone as being sort of like that yellow color and then the red on the eyes and then this like blue outfit that she's got going on. Okay, I love this one on Natasha Lyonne. So obviously you can, if you like really look at her eyes, she's got these spiky spider lashes. So the spider, pretty apt. And then I love the mushroom, the idea of this mushroom, and then her like matte lip. Sometimes it's just kind of fun to see like where her head goes and like where the inspiration, like sometimes I wonder, did she do the makeup and then look for the images afterwards, or did she have these images in mind before doing the makeup? I want to ask that question. Next, again, we have Grace Gausted, and this is, dude, Wonder Bread. Are you kidding me? Like I love this so much, and it's so sick, and it's so over the top. Like her whole outfit is like very eye-catching with this like the black and white checkers, but it works so beautifully with these like bright colored circles. And again, her skin is obviously very minimal, but that's so much fun. Now we're gonna get into the Unserious and Unhinged inspo grids, which are my favorite thing in the entire world. Okay, so the first unserious one that I love so much is again on Natasha Lyonne. We have this photo of Natasha wearing like this really beautiful, like kind of simple smoky eye, this nice nude lip, kind of like almost peachy in tone. And she's obviously got red hair. And then what is the inspiration? Just a smiling ginger cat. I just love that so much. So sometimes they get very unserious. And this is the kind of like thing where I'm like, does she just find these photos afterwards, you know? Now we start to get a little more unhinged. So for example, this one for Vanessa Kirby is obviously vials of blood. The inspiration for that blood red lip makes sense. I totally get it. Gorgeous look on Vanessa Kirby. Again, she like knows what to do with blue eyes. Those like super black lashes, that blood red lip. It's actually stunning. It's absolutely stunning. Next, we have, I think this one was described when I took a screenshot of this. This is Vanessa Kirby again, but the inspiration seems to be what looks like one of those, what's the little like pod that comes off of a spaceship, like after they take off? It's like one of those things, but like rusted, like an old one. And then I believe this was described as astronaut food. It says beef with vegetables, and it looks so unappetizing. But you can see the tones, you can see the colors very much translate into what we're seeing on Vanessa Kirby's face, which is hilarious to me. And then finally, dude, I love this one. Olivia Wilde wearing this like undone smoky eye with this like soft pink lip, and we just have like a picture of like oil covered or like coal covered hand with a pug with a pink ribbon on its head and its tongue sticking out. Like, it's so unhinged. Like, I love it so much. Yeah, no words, no notes, just perfection. The main reason that I love, first of all, those inspiration grids in general are so helpful for a person who is maybe feeling stuck and, you know, looking for a way to find more inspiration for their makeup looks. And again, we will get into that more, but it's also a reminder, like especially the unserious and unhinged inspo grids, is just a reminder that she has like this incredible sort of childlike curiosity when it comes to makeup. And she's not taking herself too seriously. She's not taking the whole thing too seriously. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be playful. Okay, now we're going to pivot and I'm going to create a makeup look that is inspired by the way that Miss Jo Baker creates a makeup look. So I have two I almost said Instagram, inspo pics. We're making our own little inspo grid here. The first is this gorgeous, like, chrome looking car. Okay, I have no idea what kind of car this is. I saw that finish, this like gorgeous sheen, and I guess you wouldn't necessarily call it chrome because it isn't sparkly. It's like kind of a matte color with this beautiful gloss on top of it. But this gorgeous teal and then this gloss, like it spoke to me immediately. And then the second one is this adorable photo of these two little kitty noses and mouths. Now, I mostly chose these because I saw that Jo Baker did use like a cat. I think it was a close-up of like a cat nose and mouth in one of her inspo grids. And again, when I saw this, I could instantly see a makeup look. So the way that I went about choosing these two images to use together is I was looking at a bunch of different images that had nothing to do with makeup or beauty or anything, just a bunch of different images. And I kind of like compiled them. And then I was initially sort of like thinking that I would just use one, but I wanted to stay true to Jo Baker. And these two just really popped to me. The main reason was if we look at these cats, we have these really like adorable little, like their lips are kind of like softly juicy, kind of like satin pink, you know? And then their noses are a little bit more of like a soft matte pink. And I could instantly think of like lips and cheeks, okay? Then that juxtaposed with the car, the beautiful like sheen of the car, that beautiful gloss, plus that like teal, I think really will pop nicely against that like light pink. And I could just see it on the eyes. So we're gonna go ahead and jump right into it. So I'm actually going to start by finishing off the face. So I am going to be going in with this blush right here I have from Dear.A. I believe this is a Korean brand. I'm relatively new to them. This is in the shade 02 First Crush. So if you compare this color to the cat's like noses and mouths, it just like works so beautifully, and obviously like instantly thought of that like soft matte nose, okay? So I'm gonna pick this up on my Rephr 38 brush. A nice and clean one because all my other brushes are very dirty right now. I don't want to talk about it. I'm just going to bounce into this like an extremely light blush. This is a really, really nice sheer formula. Very soft matte. I'm going to make sure that I'm not applying too much. And the way that I see this is very much just like dusted up high on the cheekbone. So just underneath the eye and keeping it up high on the cheekbone. Just this beautiful, soft, dusting of that color. I'm not going to take it in too far. And I kind of love how this really just sort of complements the soft matte that I have going on with the rest of the base right now. Nothing is very dewy because I am going to be focusing on a super glossy, colorful eye, and I want a more like soft satin lip. So I want to kind of keep the base and everything else sort of soft so that it's not competing with those two elements. We want everything to be nice and balanced. So the easiest way to go about this is to find a blush that is very close in value to your skin tone so that you're not going in with way too much. You know it's not going to be too pigmented or too contrasty against your skin. It's going to allow you to keep things very, very soft and easy to blend. Isn't that beautiful? Now I'm just going to dust a tiny little bit of that on the top of the nose, just to keep things nice and rosy, but soft. Okay, for the lips, I'm gonna go in with Refi Mauve. This is the Blur Liner. So I'm gonna do a very light line and I almost said exfoliation. What? Contour? This guy came loose, so I keep just like pushing it down into the base. This has that really beautiful pinky tone, and it's super sheer. Makes the application really easy to keep soft. So I'm just doing like a little bit on the outside. You can see we already like, can you see that? Can you see how it like really translates to those little kitty lips? So pretty. So it's really just kind of like adding a little bit of volume and structure to the lip. And then I'm just kind of blending a little with my fingers. So that's already a really beautiful, like structured look. For my lipstick, for the center of the lips, I'm going to be using this from MAC. This is Sellout, the Luster Glass lipstick, which I think is so perfect. So it already has like a really beautiful bit of like sheen to it. So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to pat it in the center of the lips. And that's really just going to like kind of enhance that pinky color. And this is a pretty shiny lipstick. So I don't need a gloss or anything. You don't need too much to just create like a little color and extra hydration to the lips. I'm just gonna go back in with my lip liner and do a little more. Defining. So I want the lips to really reflect those cute little kitty lips. So there's just like a teeny bit of that really soft luster and sheen, you know? And they're not perfectly defined. Okay, onto the eyes. So I love this teal color, is so beautiful. And the chrome of, why was I saying chrome? The gloss of the finish of the car is like unbelievable. And also just like these really smooth shapes. It's just beautiful, and it absolutely translates to like something on the lid for me. So I don't really have a base on right now. I put a teeny bit of my foundation on my lids just to sort of like color correct, get rid of some veins and stuff, but I knew that I was gonna be going in with an eye paint. So I'm just gonna make sure that this is patted out. There's no extra, you know, hydration on my eyelids. So I'm gonna be using the eye paints from About Face. These are the fluid eye paints in the shade, oh God, this is so, it's so dark. I don't know. This is like it's like a royal blue, almost purple. And then I have Crocodile Rock, this like nice green. I'll put this on the back of my hand because all my palettes are dirty. Pick up a little bit of the blue, mix it in with that green until I have the right color. And I have some lighter blues that I might add if I need to lighten it up a little bit. Okay, I have a little bit of Blue Monday. I'm gonna put a little bit of that out. It's got more white in it. It's a lighter color, so I think it'll lighten it up a little bit and also add a little bit of blue. So I'm just gonna go in with a teeny bit. Adding a little bit more of the dark blue. Because it's still just like ever so slightly too green. And I don't want it to get too light. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. So I'm gonna grab the N24 brush. This is from Point 2.0 collaboration, Nikki Rose and BK Beauty. And it's synthetic brush. It comes to like a nice like point up here. Like it really flattens out at the top. So I think it'll be nice for sort of like creating a rounded edge. So I'm gonna pick up a little bit of the eye paint. And I'm thinking I'm gonna start off in here. And then just round this edge. I want to make sure that I'm being even. So I'm not worrying about like the whole thing right now because I'm just trying to get the edge right. And the car has this really, like these really beautiful like kind of swirls. So I think what I'm gonna do is like kind of follow where my crease is, and then I'm gonna kind of create like a rounded shape out here using the brush like that. So we're not doing like a typical wing or anything. Grabbing my Half Magic flicker. Oh, why is it pink? Oh no, it's been stained. I'm just gonna remove this little guy. And then I'm just going to fill in. I'm gonna keep my eyelids, I'm looking down into a mirror, so I wanna keep my eyelids nice and flat so that this has plenty of time to, first of all, I can make sure that my application is nice and even. And I want to really allow this to dry because I am going to be going in with a gloss. So we did the initial shape. Now I'm filling everything in. And then we can address edges with a definer brush, a detailed brush afterwards. Okay, so while I'm having that set, again, making sure to, I can't look at you. I want to make sure that I'm keeping my eyelids nice and flat still. Going in back in with that flick eraser in that area on the bottom just to make sure that nothing's bleeding down. And then I'm gonna grab, where did my little guy go? I'm gonna grab my EO6 brush from Sigma, my little angled liner brush. And I'm going to use this to really crisp up those edges. I'm going to work pretty slowly. Again, make sure you're looking down into your mirror. And if you apply too much, you can risk like kind of pulling up the product, especially if you haven't let it dry fully, which I have not, so I don't necessarily recommend that. But I don't follow rules. I'm pretty happy with those edges. I can see that like some areas are a little bit uneven. Like this needs to come out just a little bit more. But I'm basically going to sit in this position for a little while so that I can make sure that I'm not messing anything up. So I'm gonna be like this for a second. And then once this has dried, we'll go in with another light layer to make sure that it is nice and opaque, okay? Okay, now I'm gonna grab my Sigma E54 brush and I'm picking up a little bit more of the paint on this, and I'm just gonna go in with a nice light, I'm like really working it into the brush. I'm gonna go in with a nice light layer, even layer, just to fill in any of those areas that look a little sparse. Again, you wanna make sure that your eyelids are nice and flat so that you can let it dry fully. Okay. I'm flipping my brush over, doing the same thing for the other side. And then this one area I picked up a little too much. So I'm just using a really light hand and blending on top of that really gently so I'm not accidentally pulling up. Now I'm going to, once again, sit in this position. I'm gonna call my boyfriend back while we dry. Okay, now that that's dry, I am going back to my little kitty image. And I love the like white of the whiskers, like of the fur around the lips and the nose. So I'm gonna go into the Rotten palette. This is Blend Bunny collaboration with Microsoft is her Instagram. It's my Pang. If you're not familiar, I will link her down below, but I'm gonna go into this nice matte white. Look at this, I tried to remove it, but I couldn't. This nice matte white called Oxygen. I'm gonna take a teeny blending brush. This is the Sigma E36 brush. I'm gonna dip into that matte white, tapping off, and then for the under part of my inner corner, I'm just gonna lighten this up a bit. So I'm not going in with any kind of like shimmer in my inner corner, but I do want to add a little bit of brightness because this teal and heavy shape can look a little overwhelming on the eye without it. So this will kind of depend on like your preference, but remember to balance, like just adding that tiny bit of matte white right there just kind of like helps to open up the eye. It makes this feel a little bit less heavy compared to this side where it's a little bit darker. You see that difference? But because it's sort of like soft and matte, it really helps to sort of like, fit? I was gonna say meld. Fit with the soft matte of the blush that's on the cheeks and also the nose. I think putting a shimmer there would just be like too overwhelming, especially because we are gonna finish off with a gloss. Yeah, it's beautiful. It really creates like a little bit of a glow without shimmer, without using shimmer or glitter. Okay, I'm gonna keep my lashes relatively simple. I am going to give them a quick curl using my rougher lash curler. I'm gonna really focus on the outer end of the lashes. And then I'm gonna go in with my Half Magic or do I wanna use Buxom? I'm gonna use Buxom. This is the Lash Extension Lift Mascara, which is like a nice, like thick mascara. And I'm going to focus this on the outer corner of the lashes. So I'm gonna kind of pull my lashes sideways. So I'm not really worried about like curling them up. I want them to kind of flare out, which will also kind of like give us a little hint of cat eye, you know? And I'm really utilizing the point of the mascara brush to pull them and also kind of cluster them. And I'm gonna leave the lower lash line totally naked. Because we have such a graphic shape on the top lid, I just don't want to take too much attention away by like, you know, overly doing the lashes or using falsies or anything like that. So it's really just gonna be something to kind of finish off the look so that it doesn't look completely undone. And it'll also help to give, again, like a little bit of a lift to the eye because we do have that large kind of heavy graphic shape. All right, I'm gonna let those lashes dry fully while I go wash my hands. Okay, we're dry. We're dry, finally. So, for the gloss, I'm gonna be using a synthetic brush. This actually isn't like my ideal brush, but if I were a good YouTuber, I would have washed all my brushes and I would have the brush that I wanted, but I'm not, and I didn't. So this is just fine. It's the E25 Max. Don't know if this is still available. This is from Sigma, but like a nice big synthetic brush that like preferably is, you know, has some give to it. And then this is an oldie, okay? This is a callback for any like OG makeup people. The Elizabeth Arden 8-Hour Cream. This is basically an ointment, but this has been used in the industry for years to create like a glossy effect on every area of the face, body, whatever. So I'm gonna be picking this up with this brush and I'm just gonna put it on the back of my hand. I wanna kind of like warm it up and make it malleable. Now there are lots of glosses, like face glosses now. Like I think About Face has them. Danessa Myricks has a beautiful one. I just kind of wanted to like use a throwback. So I'm really loading up the brush. And I'm going to place this all over that teal color. You don't want this to like linger too much, but you do want to make sure that you are fully coating, okay? And look at, you see that? There's basically nothing on the brush, no teal. There's a little flecks, but that's it. So good. All right, let's do the other side. Okay, this is the finished look. We have our glossy eye. Look at that. Gorgeous. All right, let's summarize and talk about why this works. So, what I love about this look so much is how we are balancing and sort of like counteracting so many aspects of the look, right? So like when I chose this outfit, this is obviously a very like girly, frilly, floral shirt. I mean, look at these puffy sleeves. Are you kidding me? You know what I mean? Then we have slightly more like modern jewelry with like little like teardrop pearl. And I don't know if you can really see, but this is actually a face with like a teardrop coming from the eye. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's like kind of fabulous. So it's like a little bit more of a modern aspect, which I think actually really helps to tie in the eye. Then when we look at the face, we have this really beautiful like soft matte finish that is only enhanced by the beautiful like glow that's happening on the cheeks. Again, soft matte, as well as that beautiful glow in the inner corner, soft matte, right? We have this really beautiful like soft lip that complements the colors of the cheeks and gives a little bit of that juice, but like not really. It's not really like pulling too much attention away from the eyes or the cheeks because it's a similar color to the cheeks. And it's sort of like leading us into this beautiful gloss that we have on the eyes. Finally, with the eyes, we have this really graphic shape, okay? So very modern. Really contrasts against this like girly, frilly floral, you know, and all of these soft colors. Now, if we'd done like just a basic neutral soft eye with like a lash and I don't know, a sparkly inner corner, it would look beautiful. But this really adds like not only the color contrast between those like soft pinks, but also it adds a little bit of edge and it adds like a little bit of like mystery, you know? It just kind of like creates a little more intrigue to the look. And I think that that's what overall Jo Baker is really creating when she's looking at someone's full picture. Like she's looking at the jewelry, she's looking at the hair, she's looking at the outfit, and she's making sure that the makeup is a part of it. It's a part of the overall like sculpture of this person. Without taking away from anything, but only like enhancing so that your eye is kind of like bouncing around every area. It kind of only makes every aspect pop even more. Now, obviously with this gloss, this look in particular with this gloss is not necessarily like a look that you can wear all of the time or out or whatever. They're probably longer wearing glosses. I can already feel my eye sort of like falling apart. But for like editorial, gorgeous and so much fun. Such a perfect like example, I think, of just like playing with the way that Miss Jo Baker approaches a makeup look. I believe that a true makeup artist has a particular style. And every look that they create, whether it is, and if we take Jo Baker as an example, whether it's super editorial, whether it's red carpet, whether it is, I don't know, something like maybe for a press day, and it's like something a little bit more casual or something, The makeup artist's fingerprint is very much on every single one of those looks, no matter what, whether it's glam, whether it's editorial, whether it's crazy, whether it's undone, whether it's like super polished, their fingerprint is on that look. Since following Jo Baker, I've been following her for a while, but since I started like sort of looking into her work a little bit more, I've been sort of thinking about how she goes about creating her artwork. And as someone who creates content or creates in general, I'm always interested in like what people's process is. And it's sort of got me thinking about this concept that has been on my mind for a while now. I actually made a video about it a little while ago, just like a casual one sitting on my couch, about consumption and consuming, and in particular consuming content, and whether or not there's like a right way versus a wrong way to do so. And I kind of want to just like talk about the differences, especially for someone who is a creative, and in particular if you are a makeup lover and maybe you've been feeling in a rut. Okay, here's a scenario. And I'm literally talking about myself and to myself right now, just so we're all clear. You're scrolling on Pinterest, and you're scrolling, and you come across makeup looks that you really, really like. You're like, oh, I like that one, and I like that one, and I like that one. And so you pin it to your like makeup inspiration board, okay? And eventually it comes time for you to be doing your makeup, and you're looking at this Pinterest board and you're scrolling through it, and you're just like, I don't want to do that one. I don't want to do that one. I don't want to do that one. Maybe you find one that you're like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. And you do it, and it's fine. It turns out okay. But you don't feel like so good about it for some reason. And maybe it's because like you just copied somebody else's. Maybe it's because like you just had to scroll through like a million, and it sort of created this fatigue because you're like, oh my God, I have so many of these. Like I have so many options. I don't know which one to do. Next, I want you to imagine just like going for a walk. Just like you're going for a walk or whatever. And you come across like a plant that's pretty. And you're like, oh, I'll take a picture of that. That's a pretty plant. And then maybe like you're walking past an alley and you see like a big pile of like trash bags. You see that shit. Maybe you're like walking some more and you see like a really cool car that you've never seen. Like maybe it's like kind of vintage looking and it's like shiny and like a cool color or something. Or maybe it's a bird. The point that I'm trying to make is that one of the things that's so incredible about Jo Baker is that she looks for inspiration in things that have nothing to do with beauty, that have nothing to do with makeup. Anything around, it could be, like I said, it could be a bird, it could be a plant, it could be anything, it could be a building, it could be anything, it could be asphalt. It could be ugly, like it could be a gross looking thing. But when she looks at it, she sees a makeup look. She sees a makeup look, which is so cool. And it's such a great like exercise for someone who is creative, who enjoys makeup, to go for things that have absolutely nothing to do with beauty, because it sort of like forces your brain to think a little bit harder about what you're doing. And you're not copying something that someone else has done, you're creating something completely new. Because two people can, look at the same bird and be like, I'm going to use this as inspiration for a makeup look, but they're probably going to create something a little bit different at the very least. And I think when you are seeking inspiration from things that have nothing to do with whatever the thing that you're creating is, it really, not only does it make your mind work, but it's also helping you to develop a skill. And by developing that, you're creating more confidence in that thing as well. So I don't just mean that this is something that is beneficial to people who are like advanced makeup wearers who want to be creative and really like hone that skill, whether they're like working makeup artists or maybe, you create content as well. This is for everyone. This is for anyone. It could be for a beginner. Like just thinking outside the box a little bit is really going to help create a little bit more confidence. And again, you're developing the skill of something that you like really enjoy. The worst thing that you can do for your creativity is to look at other people's work. I'm not saying that you can't look at other people's work for inspiration in other ways, but when you are trying to hone on your creativity, you should be looking at things that are completely separate, because that is where you're going to be able to tap into your individuality. And again, you're going to be honing those skills, creating that confidence. And that's what's really going to help to give you a sense of like self-worth and reason. Again, talking to myself. So check out Jo Baker on Instagram. I highly recommend, like, her inspiration grids are so much fun. And it's just like, I think that's a really good exercise in seeing like what inspires other people. It's so valuable. It's so incredibly valuable. And I just wanted to mention that this makeup look today was inspired by her technique. I only used one image. This beautiful image of this little like Siamese cat was my inspiration for today. And I really did try to kind of like take into account what my hair was doing and what my outfit was doing and what my jewelry was doing, so that I wasn't like overwhelming anything and everything was sort of like working together. So quickly, let's just break it down. I have this kind of like structured like periwinkle blue dress on. So we have these like nice structured lines going vertical and horizontal. Then I have like a slightly more organic look happening with my jewelry, where we have these sort of like dripping gold hearts, as well as this asymmetrical gold necklace, which was a gift from my boyfriend. Thank you, boyfriend. So we're starting to get like slightly more organic and juxtaposed against this sort of like structured dress. And then the makeup look, I really wanted that to kind of like fit with everything, especially because the hair is a little bit more like wavy and soft. So I wanted to bring a little bit of edge, since we already have like a little bit of edge with these earrings, but the dress, again, kind of, it's a dress, you know, it's like a little bit more girly, it's a little bit more structured. So I wanted to create like something a little bit more undone on the eyes. So it's I'm not using any like heavy products. I didn't layer a ton of things. It's very, very soft eyeliner with a little bit of eyeshadow, and then just a clean base. I use like a very sheer eyeshadow base just so that it would stick with this shimmer. And then obviously nice soft matte base makeup with like not really a ton of blush. I used a very nude colored blush and undone lip with a little bit of hydration. And then no falsies. I did layer a little bit of like a building mascara on top of a waterproof mascara to make my eyelashes a little more impactful, just so that they wouldn't get lost in this look, but they're not overwhelming and they're not like too glam. Also, you're gonna notice I don't have any highlight anywhere. No highlight. I actually have like a little bit of a matte light peach in my inner corner. Again, not to take anything away from that beautiful shimmer that we have on the lids, which is from Half Magic. I'll link it down below. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed these slightly more like in-depth sort of like video essay type videos. Let me know if you do. I do have other makeup artists who I'm interested in going in depth on. And this is pretty much going to be the structure where we sort of like go into their history a little bit, break down their looks. I'm going to share a tutorial inspired by them. I don't know, I thought it would be kind of fun. So you gotta let me know. You actually have to let me know, because otherwise I'm not gonna do it. So like and comment and whatever. At least like it and leave a comment. You don't need to subscribe. I have enough subscribers. I need people to watch these videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.